If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. First of all, it's totally free. You heard me, it's free. What's better than that, right? Anchor also makes it easy by providing tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. How convenient is that? Plus, you can grow your brand because when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on a variety of platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more listening platforms. Best of all, you can make money by growing your listening audience. Anchor has everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're ready to get started so that your voice can be heard, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Trevor. Wait, Daddy, are you making any money off of this?
Okay. Microphone check. Check. Yeah. Assassin. I love my mic, and my mic loves me. It's my only true friend. Put your mics in the air. If you real, she love me and I love her. If you really spit that real. Check it out. Assassin, look. When I want competition, I just look in the mirror. With every word that I'm spitting, then the vision is clearer. Nobody touching what I'm clutching, plus I'm busting it first. Yes, your chest will be a mess by the end of the verse. Your body stretched out like a book on the pavement. People pass by as they look in amazement. Your body leaking your genetics, got you looking so pathetic. No need to call the paramedics, it's too late for anesthetics. Me and my microphone. 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 Coming out the dirty south, show everybody I'm the cleanest. Run your mouth, I send your body to the cleaners. Love my mic, so can't nobody come between us. Won't be nice for anybody wanna see us. Back up a little, just a couple of feet. You don't listen, you'll be missing just a couple of teeth. Hard to buy the rhyme, with no teeth in your mouth. Stepping out of line, then we sweeping them out. Me and my microphone. Me and my microphone. Me and my microphone. Me and my...
What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I am back with another episode of Straight Talk with Trevor, the podcast where no topic is off limits. Before we get into tonight's show, I have a couple of announcements. Back in 2001, March of 2021, the Straight Talk with Trevor podcast was born off of a couple of conversations that I would have at like backyard picnics and things like that. And I mentioned to my wife, one day it'd be fun. I told her, I said, it'd be funny if I had a podcast, and didn't know that she jumped right on it and she created a podcast. And another, one of my friends who's actually going to be on the show tonight, she sent me a link to a podcast, to how to create a podcast, just based on a conversation that I saw her having on a Facebook post arguing with someone. And I was like, man, I think I could do this. Not knowing that my wife had already done it. She sent me that link and told me I now have a show. I sat in my office, and what did I say? March? No, sorry. It was January 21st. Yeah. January 21st, 2021. Sorry. And I sat in my office and recorded what was 7 minutes of the worst podcast intro you could ever hear. I was so not prepared. And every time I listen to it now, I just cringe. But I kept going. I recorded my shows. One show ended up to being two into five. And then around maybe the fifth or sixth episode, I started to get a little depressed, just because I thought that I just thought like, damn, a lot of people know me. So naturally my show's going to be popular right off the bat. And let's just say it was very humble beginnings in the beginning, to a point where I was like, man, this isn't worth it. I was just recording it straight into my phone. So it's not like I was spending any money or anything, but it was just the time that it took to do it. And I gave up for about 6 months. I was watching a live stream, and Kev on stage said that if you're ever going to be a good podcaster, you have to do at least 100 episodes to perfect it. And it just, I don't know why that lit a fire under me, but it did. And I made a vow to myself that I was going to see it through, and I was just going to do it until I just knew that there was absolutely no audience. That would have been the only way that I was going to stop. I invested in new equipment. I got my equipment. I've spent hundreds of dollars on microphones. If you see my mixing board, it's like top quality, things like that. I even bought a new computer strictly for the podcast. I wanted to just do something that I felt like could just change, not the world, but just change my circle. So many times we get together and all we do is just talk about foolishness and things like that. But I wanted to do something that would just spark challenge in people's minds, just make them think like, man, what if I changed my thinking this way? Or, man, that made me think. I'm going to go home and think about that. It's going to make me look different to how I view the community. So my listens started going up. I remember when I got my first 300 listens, I was just so happy. When I got my first 1,000, I was just through the roof. The listens continued to go up. I went from 1,000 to 2,000, and it just kept going up until I hit about 5,000. And I was like, man, I told my wife one day, I said, you know what? It would be funny if this show could get 10,000 listens. And I just started this campaign where I was just, any post that I posted, whether on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, I would always put a hashtag race to 10K. And that was my way of reminding myself always that I want 10,000 listens on this show. And I gave myself to the end of this year, 2022. Well, what was it? Friday morning. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I woke up and I checked the analytics like I always do. And this little podcast had surpassed 10,000 listens. And I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe it, man, because in the back of my mind, I was like, I think I could do it, but not really sure. But, now that it's there, it's like, oh, man, the sky is the limit. And I thank the Straight Talk Society. I thank those that took the time out just to hit the play button. I always say, you don't have to like my show, but I do ask that you listen. Just listen to one. You listen to one, if you don't think it's for you, then fine, But I believe that if you listen to my show, something in it will grab you. And something in it will make you be like, boy, you know what? It's worth coming back to. And now that we've reached over 10,000 shows, not going anywhere. That was just a personal goal that I wanted. Now the sky's the limit. Now I'm looking at 20,000, 50,000, 100,000. Someday 1 million. I think that this type of show, this show isn't talking about foolishness. That's the thing. I could talk about anything. There's nothing that impacts the Black community that I cannot talk about in this show. And that's the thing. A lot of people are just limited to one area. If it's something I don't know about, I know somebody who knows about it, and I'll get in contact with them. So I just want you guys to know from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I salute you. I pour a drink for you for following me, listening to me, because it's not been easy. And there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes of this. Doing this show is just not as easy as pushing the play button. It would be if I was doing the show on my own. If I was just doing my own show, then fine. I could just come sit in the office and hit play. But that's not how that works. When you do a show like this where you're constantly getting guests, you have to always alter to their schedule. And there's a lot of rescheduling. Like the show that you're going to hear tonight should have happened a month ago. But, everything happens in its own perfect timing. And also tonight will be my 50th show. This is the real number 50 of the Straight Talk with Trevor podcast. I know I was going to do a men's roundtable. We're still going to do the men's roundtable, but this show, things worked out where I was able to get it recorded tonight, so I had to get it done. But I just say we're working on some shows that are just, listen, I don't want to tell you the shows that I'm working on, because if they don't happen and I already tell you, then everybody's going to be pissed. But I am working on 2 shows in particular that if I could land those guests, this is going to be the most insane thing I've ever done. And God, I hope that it comes through. But tonight's show is going to be another When Worlds Collide. And this one is going to be with Mia, our resident, God, I keep forgetting, marriage and family therapist, and Michael. And we're going to discuss a taboo subject in our community. It's time to stop kidding ourselves and saying, oh, is there a divide? Or a black man and a black woman aren't divided. Yeah, we are divided. Let's just call it what it is. But tonight we're going to try to get some questions as to why. What caused a divide between the black man and the black woman? So this was a phone conversation that we just had recently. I think that you guys are going to love it. And I'm going to continue to pour out, to give top-notch shows. Even if I don't come with a show weekly, it's not because I lost passion. It's just because I'm waiting for the perfect show to drop. I'd rather go a couple of weeks without a show than to give you anything. So, and it's all about lining them, I guess, whenever they come. It's better now that I could do the interviews over the phone. I haven't done an in-person interview in a while. So doing them over the phone seems to be really convenient for all parties. So, with that being said, I don't think I'm going to have to come back and close out the show, because we're going to give you a lot in this episode tonight. So sit back, get yourself something to drink, open up your ears, and enjoy When Worlds Collide. Michael and Mia. What caused the divide between the black man and the black woman? Until next time, I leave you with these words. Always seek out the truth for yourself, because if not, you'll fall victim to other people's interpretation of them. Peace. On the phone with me, I have Mia and Michael. How you guys doing?
We are good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
That's what's up.
So this is my second edition of the When Worlds Collide series that I'm doing on the podcast. And tonight's topic is going to be, because it's time for us to stop pretending. So we've always asked the question, is there really a divide between the black man and the black woman? Emphatically, yes, there is. So tonight's show is entitled, What Caused the Divide Between the Black Man and the Black Woman? So I'll start with you first, Mia. Do you believe there's a divide between the black man and the black woman?
I mean, divide is a very strong word. I think that there has been systemic forces, and I hate to use forces because then I sound like I'm, talking about some force of good and evil, but there has been things that have happened to the black communities historically over time that have caused a divide between the black man and the black woman.
So before you go into that, before you go into that, I just want to know. But you do believe that there is one?
Yeah, I believe that there's a lack of cohesion.
Okay, perfect.
As it relates to how we are experiencing the world.
Michael, same question to you.
I think there's definitely a divide, and the reasons why are multi-layered. But if you're just asking the question, is there a divide? It's to me, it's obvious.
Okay.
But there definitely is a divide.
Okay. So now, we all agree that there is a divide. So now let's have the conversation. And we could just go round robin however you want to do it. But what is the main, because you were getting ready to go into a bunch of stuff. What is the main factor that you think caused a divide?
Well, I know there's a whole subset of people that hate when we reference slavery for what is happening to who
Baby girl.
and how we are structured and how we experience the world. Like, it's always like, oh, that happened so many years ago, and oh, it doesn't have anything to do with what's happening right now, and oh, it wasn't my ancestors, it wasn't me, it was my ancestors. Like, people just want us to just forget about it, right? Just move on. And unfortunately, it is within our own community. Like, there are Black people that are sharing that same narrative to say that slavery had no impact on the family structure as it is. And it absolutely did. A structure, a system cannot take that many beatings and survive. And we don't even realize that even the families that present as a unit and families that are thriving against all odds.
Michael, jump in.
It's funny, right? Because I thought she was going to go a totally different direction. That's literally what I believe. I have a saying where it's, if you look at anything wrong in the Black community, you could trace it back to slavery and an angry rich white guy. Like, everything. And I wholeheartedly mean it.
So let me stop you right there. Don't lose that thought, because it's very interesting that you said that. There was a big debate that happened this week between Dr. Umar Johnson and, I'm going to be nice, and Cynthia G, where Umar was bringing up systematic racism and slavery and this and that. And Cynthia G basically told him that Black men need to get out of the past and stop blaming that for everything. So now continue.
All right. If you want to talk about her, she's a harbinger of hate. That's just who she is.
Who was the person that you cited? Because I couldn't hear you, broke up.
Cynthia G, I believe is her name.
Yeah, Cynthia G.
She's just an angry person, because she arguing with her is like arguing with like a kid who just read a book, and they just read a book on hamburgers, and they think they know more about it than you, who's lived and eaten more hamburgers than they've ever, seen in their life. It's like, because in one moment she'll say, oh, these Black men need to stop thinking about slavery and referencing it. And then the next moment she'll go, well, they're part of white supremacy because as soon as slavery, they were choosing white women. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't pick and choose what you want to stand as like the penultimate, or not the penultimate, the ultimate reason for something. You can't pick and choose. It's either the reason or it's not. And slavery is definitely the reason. I mean, slavery is the reason for pretty much all of our issues. You have a whole community who they took the smartest, the most, let's say, the well-adjusted, and they murdered them for centuries. They murdered the intelligence out of our gene pool, and we're still smart, but they murdered the intelligence out of our gene pool. Then when we finally got some close reference of freedom, and then we started building our own towns, they killed them too. Think of the amount of intelligent people in every racial demographic, and now just think of, for system, we're just going to kill a multitude of them, and what's going to happen? And then they go, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, come on, buddy. And then they wonder why you have people who ready to wild out and don't care. They're like, how come they're always angry? Why is it you killed all the sensible, relaxed ones? Now you got to deal with I'm not putting up with it. You got to deal with those dudes. You know how they used to say back in the day, you got Black people and you got the N-words? Mm-hmm. You kill all the Black people, you got to deal with the N-words. I don't know what to tell you. All right, that's Mia, why I'm all for it. I'm all for it when they snap and they go off on them. Like, go get them.
Mia, jump in real quick.
Oh, that's
So
how I feel.
Michael is going to give the unfiltered
Yes.
truth.
That's the only truth I know.
Right. I think there's definitely multiple variables. Like it's multiple layers of it. And if you're not a black person in 2022 that is not connected to the fact that systemic racism still exists and that it has had a significant impact on our culture, our history, and who we are as people, then I don't want to shake your hands.
Okay, let me
Big
ask let me
facts.
let me ask you guys a question. So we all agree that racism is the stem of all this and the root of all of this. So how come in 2022 we're still allowing it to divide us? How come we now live in a society, in a community where we have so many black women saying, "Hey, I don't need a black man anymore. Let me kick him out of the house. I don't need him anymore. I make more money. I can do everything on my own now." That's what's causing the divide. Where is that coming from?
And and it's like you're making your statement from a male vantage point, and I'm making my statement from a female vantage point, where I feel there's a lot of successful black men that are like, I don't want a black woman. And it's like I'm choosing to be with somebody else because I have all of these issues with black women, instead of it just being, choose us over everything. You know what I mean? Like I don't hear Asian people having a conversation of all of the things that they don't like about Asian men and vice versa, and why they go outside of their race. Like there's a difference between you talking about you love somebody and you fall in love with them, and but when you start to say that this is your preference because all black women are this, then I'm like, let's sit down and have a real conversation and figure out, where did this come from? How did this become your narrative? Because your mother is black. And if your issue is with your mother, you need to deal with that issue and not bring it across the board and make it part of your sexual experience, your work experience, it consumes you to the point where you can't even make a decision or live a lifestyle outside of the hate and the disgust that you have for your own mother, because you have issues with that. So like I say, I don't have a problem with people saying, hey, I love who I love, and I don't, I just, I'm attracted to who's attracted to me. But when you're saying like, I don't date black women and I don't like black women because they're loud, they're this, they're that, when you have this checklist and you are completely against meeting and dating a black woman because of XYZ, I'm like, why? Just give me the why and let's have a conversation about it, because it started somewhere. There's a root to every evil.
Michael,
and where that
hold
out
on,
in your heart.
I don't want to cut you. Michael, chime in, because I know you want to sound off on this, and I got something to say after that.
Honestly, I cannot disagree. I don't even like the word preferences. I think preferences, when guys say it, it's putting women as a monolith. Like, oh well, all these women that have these characteristics are like that, and they're not. Because to this day, I have not met two blondes that are the same. I know people say they're all ditzy and they're this and they're that. They're not the same. Some are dumb this way, some is this way, some are intelligent. There's no two black women the same. I could go off the history of the black women I've known in school. None of them were the same. A couple of them might have a couple ratchet tendencies, but that's where you grew up. That's why it's, they say nature versus nurture. That's nurture. If they all grow up in the same type of environment, you're going to have the same type of characteristics, but that's not who they are.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's not who they are. Now, it's the same for guys, because when I hear women talk all the time now, it's all these black men are this or black men are that, and I look at them, and it's funny because they're talking to me, and I'm like, so you're saying I'm like that? Oh no, not you. You're different. And I'm like, I'm not different. I'm a black man. You've known me for years. We're having the same conversation. I'm a black man. You've known me. Black men. You can't say all black men if I'm sitting here staring at you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that is the crux of the problem with us. Number one, we're too sensitive. And I mean as a race, we're too sensitive. We let things get us so worked up. We let things get us so angry. And instead of trying to break it down and find out what's causing it, we just rage. and it ticks me off. Like, you know what? I almost took it somewhere else. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying,
yo, go ahead. Finish.
as a race, we know there's issues, but we're not solving it. We're just fighting.
So let me.
That's what hurts my feelings.
Because
I love black women. Like, if you go on my page right now, you'll see equal parts women telling me they think I love black women, and then another half of the women telling me I'm a misogynist and I hate black women, which is insane. And you can ask, and I believe you could give any of those women, what do you call it, the lie detector test, and they'll both come back telling the truth because they really feel that way. But none of them know who I am. None of them have had a real conversation with me. They just see things I post, and they never ask the question. I had a girl I've known for years who just said, you just posted this. I can't believe it. You're disgusting and rude. And then I told her, I said, yo, that's funny because you'll talk to me if I post something, you know, whatever, and you'll come hit me up and say, yo, I was confused about you saying this. But when it comes to something that triggered her, there was no conversation to be had. It was automatic. I'm a piece of crap.
Right. And I was,
you know what I mean?
I was just about to go there. Don't do any segues for me anymore, okay? But the damage. I think the only thing that I would like to pull out was when you said we're too sensitive, and I don't know if it's sensitive or is it the fact that we're so damaged.
I think we can be both.
Targeted damage, like, because you're only responding to a cut that's present. You only reacting to a trauma that's present. Like, you always have to ask that question because, you know, and I'm going to put on my therapist hat because I know sometimes it surfaces, is that when you become defensive, you have to think about what is it that you're protecting. Right? When somebody is defensive and opposing, what are you protecting? Are you defensive? Are you defending and protecting your ego? Or are you defensive because your child is in danger and you're being defensive of that? What are you being defensive of? What are you protecting when you strike? And that will give people a true reflection of what's really bothering you. What's the problem? Why can't we have a conversation about what's wrong in our community and actually do something to fix it? Because I am the person on the other side that's like, yes, I love, and I think that people have this great capacity to love, and there's all these, you know, opportunities to be united. And yes, you do hear the narrative of those people that are dogging each other and talking bad about black men, and black men talk about bad about white women. Oh Lord, where that came from about black women. I hear that. I see the Facebooks, I see the TikToks, and I'm like, how did this become who we are? When did this happen?
Let me hop in real quick because so I was having a conversation with a white coworker Friday about the Woman King. I'm not even going to get into that. Michael, me and you will get into that on Man Talk Monday. But it led into a whole nother conversation. And I asked him a question. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, you're a white guy. I'm a black guy. I said, have you ever collectively seen a group of white women collectively, vocally, out in front in public, talking bad about white men? I said, think about it. He came back to me in 10 seconds. No. I said, they may talk about him behind closed doors, but they'll never do it out in public. I said, let me ask you again. Have you ever seen a group of Asian women doing that? He said, no. Have you ever seen Hispanic women doing that? He said, no. I said, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen black women do that? He said, all the time. So here's my thing. Why are black women, what has happened? That, and I'm not saying these other races, they don't talk bad about their men. That's not what I'm saying. But you aren't seeing white people making songs, F you bitch, F you hoe, F you da 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 da. You're not doing that. But you know who you are seeing doing that? Black people. You know whose women you are seeing going out on public places talking about the black man ain't shit. The black man is a dog. I'm leaving the black man. I don't want nothing to do with the black man. I could do my own. I make more money. I do this, and this. Whether you feel that or not, why is it so okay for us to go out in public and do that and display to the world like, hey, I hate my partner, versus other races?
Please let me get on this first. Please let me get on this first.
Go ahead.
No, ladies first.
Yeah. Let me.
No, I'm, to be honest with you. So, and I'm going to answer this from, you know, my my therapist hat, because that's the only way I know how to answer right now without putting my feelings into it, is that when you have a race that has
I want your
taught to hate
feelings in
yourself.
it, though. I want your feelings in it also.
I do, but like when you have a race, I mean, it's my feelings too, but when you have a race that have been taught to hate yourself, like we're not having that conversation. And it goes back to so many aspects of who you are not being good enough and being publicly shared on multiple platforms, that who you are and how you show up in this world is not good enough. That self-hate, it materializes. And so, and I'm going to use a simple example of, for instance, of how, for instance, Black women, you come into this world, and the minute you are cognizant of your hair, you are taught that it's not good enough. Your mother starts to comb your hair, part it, grease it, put it down, tame it, because there's something about you that needs to be tamed. And you are taught that as early as the first part of grooming. That becomes a context of how you view the world and how you live. And then we go into, you know, the whole era of what beauty is, and then skin tone and the image of what a Black woman is publicly. And you keep playing that on a loop, you are taught to hate yourself. So if I don't even love who I am, I can't love the partner that I am supposed to be with to co-create. Then what I needed to accomplish to make sure this race don't continue is already done.
Bars. I am so upset. I'm so upset. Like I'm in the exact same vein. I believe, like I said, everything starts from slavery and white supremacy. We had a taught hatred of self, and there's never been, if you think about it, there's never been anything instituted by anyone to heal that. It's
Right.
been our own, you were this and that, you're the N word and it means you're wretched this and that, and the closest thing we've ever done to healing is taking the N word for ourselves. That's the only thing we've ever done. And I tell people all the time, we don't have a culture. There is no Black culture. Our culture is surviving slavery. Like America, that's all. Everything that we consider culture is just surviving slavery. The closest we've come to it since then is hip hop. That's it. There's no, like, we've passed this down from generations of love. No, it's they eat chitlins. They eat chitlins because that's what Master threw out. Like that's the whole culture. That's what it is. And it's never been here. And if you look at what white supremacy does now, it's not, let's celebrate these women who are doing great things. It's, oh, you want to be famous, you better fit this mold of an ex-stripper who's a rapper now, or you walk to the mall with a thong on, or that's the only thing that gets pushed. Every show on VH1 is how much more willing of a slut are you willing to be for this one man than another woman. Every show. Anything, if you think about it, all the Black women that have become popular have come from this line. Have come from the love and hip hop. Have come from the trying to look at me, I'm doing the slut walk, and all they get is the crumbs, because they'll never let you get the high end. You know who they give the high end to? They give the high end to the Kardashians, because the Kardashians are literally, and I mean literally, whoring themselves out. They've been whoring themselves out from jump. If you see the little things Ray J been putting out, the mother made them do a second sex tape so they could judge it against the first one to see which one was the better one to put out, and then blame him for it.
Right, but nobody we don't talk about that no more.
Nobody's saying a word. You telling me this girl, this woman pimped her daughter out, and then pimped her other daughters out to make $1 billion franchise, but now they're respected? No, I don't. I do not respect them. They're a brothel. That's what I see the Kardashians as. They're a brothel. And for some reason, white America smiles at them. Hey, Kardashians, what have you? No, you have no talent. You did nothing but sleep with Black men and take half their money. That's all she did.
Not to mention the essence of what they believe Black women look like. The black hair, the lips, the butt.
Hello.
And now you take on the structure of what you consider Black, and as your own, and you create it and make it a Kardashian thing, when my ancestors have been walking around with that shape, that look, for years, and now it has value because it's on somebody other than a Black woman.
That is a fact. They couldn't wait for a J-Lo to pop up to be like, oh my God, the butt. And I was like, that's Charlene booty from 5th grade. What are you talking about? Yeah, that booty from 5th grade. What are you talking? That's the same thing. What are you talking? No, I'm not joking. That's the same booty. I see that booty every day.
You look, now I gotta say bars. That is
So okay, so let's bring it back here, because I want to bring some numbers in, because I got me and me and Michael will just jibber jabber, but me is the professional here. 1964, and I think you know where I'm going with this. President Lyndon B. Johnson started to get generous with welfare.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, we got to go there. What role do you think welfare has played in this line of division between the black man and the Black woman? Because now, as you heard Wayne say, and I got to get you on with Wayne, Mia, because I think you two will be fantastic with each other. But you heard Wayne say that they gave them the welfare and kind of to replace the man. So
I say that all the time.
Yeah, what role do you guys think welfare played in that?
ladies first.
Go ahead.
Always.
That. So it's I'm a little torn between that statement because statistically speaking there are more white people on welfare than Black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to what is being taught, right? What is the messaging to little Black girls? Because I'm going to be honest with you, like a white woman is groomed from the time that she is cognizant of finding a partner that you need to find a suitable mate to take care of you. And then from whatever slavery was, it was the white woman that benefited the most. She stayed at home, she was well taken care of, like she took care of the plantation, everything centered around that plantation was centered around her needs and her wants. So you already have this idea that that I'm supposed to be taken care of, and I don't know that what is it? Welfare did what it was. I don't think welfare is it. Welfare is the problem, right? It goes back to who were you before welfare came out, and who are you now? Like, it's just like somebody that come into money, like whatever personality you were or whatever you believed about yourself before you had money is going to be the same person that you were afterwards. It's just going to be metastasized and bigger and on a different scale.
But Black people were thriving before welfare. Black families. Yeah.
I think from industrial... Yeah. I think from an industrial, so let's think about the Industrial Revolution and whether it was, society was moving into a different era and we were able to get on that train. So.
No, go ahead.
I wouldn't just say Black people were thriving as a whole. And let me double check because I'm not a history person, but when did the Industrial Revolution? I wouldn't put it to Black people were thriving before that. And that's because I think everybody was thriving before that. And who we were and the damage that was already done came back and reared its head.
Well, okay, let me say this. Home ownership pre 1964 in the Black community was about the same that it is now here in 2022.
Well, that's a lot of that I think that it can't be just one. There's not one reason why. I wouldn't say that it's because of XYZ. Home ownership, there's so many things that cause home ownership to decline. Even the mindset of millennials of what they believe, that working 30 years in a job, living in a house and having a 30-year mortgage, like just the concept and the framework of existing has shifted. And remember, your millennials are going into their 40s, that, probably if they would have been drinking the Kool-Aid, would have been looking for home ownership, wanting to own homes, but they're not drinking that Kool-Aid anymore. So there are multiple variables that have contributed to that decline.
I'm just saying, it just seems, I'm just saying the numbers point skew better to when the black man and the black woman were working together in the home together. I mean, what is the number now? 72% of black babies are born out of wedlock right now. I mean, all this stuff isn't just happening by coincidence. But I mean, we're just having a conversation here, Michael. You're not saying anything. We're just having a conversation.
I was waiting my turn. You're giving me
No,
things to explode off at one time.
I'm going to speak to the fact that the damage that is done, and it doesn't matter how many shiny things or how many things happen throughout that process. That unless, like you said, that there's some real conversation about healing and repairing this community, anything that is thrown at us is going to destroy and negatively impact, because we never had the conversation or the opportunity to heal from it. So no matter what comes along, you're always going to start at point A. Like it's always going to be a deficit.
I thoroughly agree. Like I said before, everything that happens to black people, it could be traced back to slavery and white supremacy. Same thing with welfare. The whole welfare thing, you think it popped up at the right, it just popped up at the moment where corporations were going to stop paying people for their production, and they just started giving the flat rate, and then they had welfare to back them up, kind of like what Walmart does today, where they'll pay you bottom dollar, and then they'll have food stamps to make up the difference, because that's what the government does. The government is living off of poor people. It's what it does. It's number one, it says, hey, you can't have this guy in the house if you're going to want all this money. And if you tell a young woman, and I'm going to say young, because a lot of mistakes that women make seem to be in their youth. They do a whole lot of foolishness in their youth. Guys too, but we're talking about women. A lot of foolishness in their youth. Oh, I don't need you. We already got 2 kids together, but I could do better than you. It's like you already put yourself in a deficit because you got 2 kids by somebody you said ain't shit. Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Michael, be Michael. You're not just talking about young women. Be Michael. Be the Michael that we know and love.
Right. Well,
Michael.
the reason is they're young, but the women that are my age are just as bad. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about welfare times. Trust me, I'm not changing who I am. It's just there's reasonings, and I can't act like they don't exist. Like, women they made the choice to be in charge. I guess they decided, I don't want to have to follow this. I don't want to have to follow a man, right? So they made the choice I'll take welfare, kick him out. In my own heart, I believe that was the kickoff point for the destruction of the black family. In my heart, I know that there's many factors from before then, but as you said, drinking the Kool-Aid, I think that was when the Kool-Aid was drunk, because right when that happened, we fell apart as a people. I feel like when they decided, and honestly, men were messing up. Men were messing up before that. I'm not gonna act like they weren't. But men were messing up in line with men. Men were messing up like black men were messing up, like white men were messing up, or like Puerto Rican men were messing up. We're messing up like men. Women took it and they went off the deep end with it. Black women took it and they became the favored minority in the next couple decades after that, which systematically took money from black men. Because when black men were the favored minority, we took off. And when we took off, we took black women with us. I know people want to act like we didn't, but back in the 80s, it was black men, black women. Because it was, if you saw a black guy with a white girl, we were like, well, he got jungle fever. This is weird. I remember it. I was alive. So we were taking them with us. But when they became the favored minority because they were black and they were female, they left. And it was, bump you. I'm not thinking about you, regular man. I'm going to go be the best I can be, which I have no problems with. But then they started looking down on regular men. And that's where the divide is. The majority of women think that the top 5% crust men are the only men that are viable. we can't deny that. Women walk around all day and they say, you ask a woman right now, what kind of guy do you want? They're going to describe a upper 5 to 10% man, because every woman alive right now that I believe thinks they deserve that, and you don't. I don't wake up tomorrow and think I deserve Gabrielle Union. She ain't even my type, but that's not the point. I don't wake up thinking like, that's me right there, I'm supposed to have that. No, she's supposed to be with someone else in that bracket, and I respect that. I'm supposed to be. Well, I'm not going to say numbers, but I know what number I think I am, and I live in that range. Black women don't have a range. A black woman could be a 2 and think she deserves. No, I'm being dead serious. She could be a 2 and be like, Michael B. Jordan better stop playing and call me. Like, that's how they feel.
I think it's the opposite. I feel like, you have a black man that may be a 2 and he feels because, maybe he has more to bring to the table, or he well endowed, or somebody told him otherwise. He might feel like he's gonna get a Gabrielle Union. Like, I think it goes both ways.
Mia
said, but wait. I don't want to go there. I want to go and talk about.
I do.
No, I do want to go. I just want to ask you one thing.
But before that, I have to put context to the conversation. That if you think about, we're talking about 1965, the introduction of welfare. We have to talk about that between 1939 and 1945, that 2.5 million African American men served in World War II. Right? And then the question is, did those men get the same benefits of the men that died in World War II that were not black? Did their wives reap the benefits or get the benefits? Or again, were black women left to fend for themselves?
See, this is why I always talk to black women, because I would never even have thought of that. Like, in my mind, the vantage point that I see it as is these men. It was like when Winnie Mandela woke up and Nelson Mandela got released from prison. She's like, oh, snap. Now he's back. I've been running this household for however many years, and now he's going to walk in and think he's going to run stuff. Nah, bro, it's not going to work. And then he had to leave, and they had to get a divorce. Like, they were, all these years he was in prison, it was fine. The second he gets home, you got to go. So in my mind, I see it as when they got power and they held on to power, and the man came back and was like, all right, I'm back here. And she was like, I'm not giving the power away. I fought all this time to get this power. I'm not giving it up. But to see it from that man, that's why you got to have so many different people in the conversation, because you can't tell me, and this is from my own personal life, you can't tell me that once a woman gets a certain amount of power or a certain amount of treatment that she can go back. It is impossible. I remember girls who used to date a guy on a bike, and the second she dated a dude with a car, she looked at a dude on a bike like him? I've never even known him before. What, a Huffy? What's that? My dude got a Corolla. And the second she dated a dude in a sports car, she don't even know what a regular car is. I've seen it happen at my high school.
I think that's just human nature too. Like, I think
not for men.
I think if you've acquired a level, like if you've graduated, or you feel like you've bought yourself up by the bootstrap, then, there's certain things that you're not willing to go back to, because, I've had that conversation. People have absolutely called me spoiled, or they'll make comments like that. And I think to myself, I was like, nobody ever gave me anything. My spoil didn't come from being daddy's little girl. My spoil didn't come from, my parents had things lined up for me. I have worked hard for everything that I have. So yeah, I cannot see myself going back and saying that I'm going to be with somebody that doesn't understand the fight that is within me and wanting to continue to accelerate forward. Like, I can't be stagnant with you. And I think that might be a different conversation.
Please hold that thought. Please hold that thought. Hold on, because I got to get this out. I need you to finish what you were going to say, but you see what you just said. You said because you've labored, you've worked, you've done this, you've done this, you've done it. The problem, you mentioned that these guys that are 2s think that they deserve women that are 10s, because the women that are 10s act like all that just because they look the way they do, that's sufficient enough. You see how you said, I wouldn't blame you for not wanting to go back after you work so hard to accomplish everything. But a lot of these women don't bring shit to the table. They may look like 10s. They may think that their sex is the greatest in the world, which that's debatable. But it's it's always about money to them. It is. So that's where someone like you, who's worked for everything you have, versus somebody who just woke up one morning and said, "Oh, I look pretty, so give me everything." It doesn't. No, that doesn't work.
I definitely agree that there's two distinctive, different type of women out there. Like, I'm sorry, I when I joined the military, and because I was a little raised in a little bubble, I didn't know all of the different type of people out there. Like, I definitely was sheltered. I can honestly agree to that part, that I did not know that there were so many variations of sex, love, and lies. Because, you know, I'm a little Haitian girl raised in a Christian household. And, you know, my vantage point of the world was very different. And so, yes, you do have that happening. But, you know, from my vantage point, I'm like, as a woman, you want to be protected. You want to be, you know, loved, and you want to be taken care of. And if that was something that was never taught to you, you're not looking for that. I am going to explore her narrative and her context, her framework. Like, how was she raised? Why did you ever become, how did you become this person? Everybody has a story. Instead of just assuming the words that this is what you chose. Not the fact that your story, your life, whatever happened to you led you to become who you are. And not that you chose this pathway. Because if I see a woman that's promiscuous and out there and, you know, trying to say, oh, I'm owning my sexuality and everything, I would be curious to explore, like, tell me your story. And I promise you, and I'm not saying that there's sexual abuse, but I think I was having this conversation with Michael, and it was like 1 in 4 Black women are sexually abused. 1 in 4, Trevor. So if 1 in 4, that's Shelly, Marie, Kira, Mia, abused. Stacy, Jennifer, you know, 1 in 4. So yeah, what is her problem? How did she become to believe that that is the way that she needs to be? How did she matriculate into this world with everything that happened to her, and this is the end product? I'm not looking at her from a point of disgust and, you know, something is wrong with you. And I'm like, what happened to you, sis? And I think
Trevor,
but we're not having those conversations.
You see why it's hard to go back and forth with her, Trevor? Take that. Take that. She hit you in the feels. I heard your feeling over there, bro. See, that's what you do. You be getting mad at me, like, bro, why don't you? I'm like, because she make points. She make points that are like, as a man, we focus on logic. We focus on this doesn't make sense because of this. But she's coming from a place where I respect that it doesn't make sense, but maybe it doesn't make sense because you don't see this lining or this side. And it's hard to like, because like, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, me as a beast, I give it to her. And it's not even from a place of like to win a debate. She really feels like, you know what I mean? She really has like the love of the community, and I do too. But mine is more, hey man, stop all that bullshit and let's fix it. You know what I'm saying? Hers is like rubbing your back with like the cold compress on your forehead. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's harder, because like sometimes you need a compress. Sometimes you need the back rub, and I can tell you that from a man who was in a relationship where his girl rubbed his head 1 time in 8 years.
Right. I think it's just in the delivery. I think all of our conversations and what we're having is valid, and how we feel is valid. But I'm sorry. We have to go to the root of the problem, and then we can come forward with solutions. But until if we just don't the problem, because we have these problem saturated stories. We are always focusing on the problem. We have been trained to just focus on the problem saturated. But what is the solution? How do we fix this? That's why I said, like, with me, I don't play those games. I had a daughter, and me and my sister had a code, because we were 1 in 4. It was both of us. That when my daughter, like, you only sleep here and here, those are your only 2 choices, and I don't trust nobody with my daughter. Because one woman, a misplaced woman, a misguided woman, a woman that has suffered sexual trauma, a woman that has experienced trauma, impacts 2 generations after her. 2 generations. A ruined woman, quote unquote. If she don't get it together, 2 generations of women are impacted. So if we could just get it right, We say 2 generations? Get y'all ass in therapy.
And I've told you, number one, yo, say that again. Get your asses in therapy. That's a big fact.
Fix it.
We're too sensitive.
Oh,
that's why I told you we're too sensitive. As a race, we're too sensitive. It's automatic anger. It's automatic anger. It's automatic. No, because, and that's why I don't. That like you've been on my page. You see me. I try to have a conversation with people. No, you hate women and you this, and I'm like, all right, shorty, cool. I hate women, but I'm from a single. I'm from a single mom. I have a daughter. All of my closest friends are female, but I hate women. You right. You got it. That's what I'm telling you. I don't get mad. You can't solve anything with angry people. You can't solve anything but hurt people. That's why those conversations can't be had with them. But it breaks my heart because you can't save the race without them.
Right.
That's why I messed with Kevin Samuels, because he got to people in a way that he might make 9 women in the room mad. But there's the 9 angry women in the room are pissed off. But the 20 quiet women in the back, like, that made a lot of sense. Because people don't understand how a loud person can suck, and this is coming from a loud person. A loud person can suck out the energy in the room. They can make it all about them, right? Which I do not do. If y'all start snickering in the background, to hell with y'all. But they can make other people afraid. Anyone who's ever had a class with me, they'll tell you, I've never made it so other people couldn't speak. Never been that person. But they make it so people they'll just wilt away. But they might get a nugget of the message. So that's why I keep doing what I do, because I might have the loud 5-6 women who go, you woman hater, but there's a bunch of women in my DMs like, yo, what you said makes sense. Could you like why do you think it's like that? What do you think? And then I get to have these great conversations with women who people don't even know talk to me. You know what I'm saying? That's why I can't stop, because I want my daughter to have a nice young man. I want my daughter to have a nice, you know what I'm saying? I want my daughter to be happy. I want to be in an old ass man in the basement looking up, and my grandkids come down like, hey, grandpa. I'm like, yeah, grandpa was wilding back in the day, but I made sure your mama's good. Like, I want that. Why can't I have that?
So, and I mean, I knew this was going to be great. I knew this was going to be great, but yeah, this conversation wasn't ever going to stay where we thought it was going to stay. But we got like,
I don't know why you be trying.
We got like 10 minutes left, so I want to kind of bring it home. I do have a question for you guys. I got a question for you from a listener that I want both of you guys to answer, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And
my answer is B.
And this is from Ben, and he wants to know, do you guys feel that black women support black men enough?
Do black women support black men enough? And I'm going to yield my time to the black man, because I want to respect the fact that you have let me go first, and then I answer.
Hey, you know what? Let me tell you this, and this is just a little side note. You comport yourself in a certain manner that demands you're treated a certain way. A lot of people, black women, could learn from you. I could never see myself raising my voice at you for that specific reason. People say demand respect. Demanding respect doesn't mean walking in the room being an a-hole. Demanding respect means you respect yourself, and other people have no other choice but to do that. That is what you're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, from my esteemed colleague. Now, back to your point. I think black women, they seem to only support black men when it's big things. And they do it better than anyone. Like, I know black guys get mad, and they probably gonna get mad at me for this. But when it's killing time, when it's lynching time, when it's they coming for you. When it comes down to those things, black women are always on the front line. And I will give it to them. They defend us like no one else. But when it's one-on-one, it's not there. When it's one-on-one, it's not. I tell people all the time, and I stole this from Kevin Samuels. Whenever I'm having an argument with a woman, and I tell her, so you think it's okay to act like this? She's like, yep. And I'm like, so you would tell your son to be with a woman that acts like you're acting right now, and then they have to stop, and they have to think. Like, I wouldn't want my son to be with a woman who just wants him for his pockets. I wouldn't want my son to be in a situation where he's seen as just a thing. And that's what we are now. It's he needs to be 6 foot tall. He needs to have dick that does this. He needs to have a tongue that does this. He needs to fix everything in the house, and then he needs to this, that, and the third. And then I ask him, so what you doing? Oh, I'm fine. What are you talking about? You don't see what I look like? I've had a girl tell me that on a date. We were out, and I was like, so what would you do? And she was like, oh, look at me. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're done. And I ain't gonna lie, she was fine. I ain't gonna cap. She was bad. And Trevor, you know how I feel about the word fine. Oh, she was fine.
Mia, same.
I'll show you a picture of her.
Same question, because we are really running out of time.
I'm like, can you repeat the question?
So do you feel that black women support black men enough?
This is like a two-edged sword, because it depends. I'm gonna go back to what was she taught, right? What was she taught as the framework for how she deals with a black man? And if I've never had an experience with a black man, meaning that there was no father in the home and there weren't no uncles that stepped up, or I don't know how to treat a black man. Like, I remember when I first started becoming a therapist, before I became a therapist, and I would look at the women that pawn over their men, and it was just like, honey, and just so in love. This was before I went and did my work, undamaging the damage that had been done, so that I would be able and be open to that type of love, because I didn't even realize that I was blocking it out, or that I wasn't capable of it, because of my strange relationship with my father, the relationship that never existed. I didn't know how to respond to a black man. So how could I respect and love a black man? So it all goes back to the framework. And I can say this from my heart, like, I am a much better lover of a black man now, because I did my part and I healed from it. But the person that I was before, dare not approach. I didn't have that trust. I didn't have the feeling of knowing that I was going to be supported, because I never experienced that. My father never supported me. He never hugged me. Hell, I never heard "I love you" from my father. So if that is the framework of which I am navigating in this thing called life, then I'm not going to be the woman that is capable of giving that love and support and respect.
Well, and I kind of knew that this was going to happen, and I'll probably hold my response off for later. We're about to run out of time, and I knew we would, just because hopefully there's so many things that we didn't even get to touch on that I wanted to, which is fine, because that just means that we'll have to come back for a part 2. So the audience can digest this. I got one last question for you guys. We got like legit 4 minutes before I got to shut it down. So we've talked about everything. We've talked about the root of slavery. We talked about how we feel about everything, and emotions flew, and we got the clinical answer and a lot of things. So now my final question to the both of you: how do we get back?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm very disappointed in the Black church.
Oh God, that could be an episode of his own. Oh my God!
Bars!
If you want to do that show, we can. Oh my God!
Because if we think about everything that we have accomplished collectively, it has been organized through the Black church, and now they're just taking like a outward stance of just not being part of the solution, and just kind of really just sitting back and just letting things happen, and not truly addressing all of the things within our families and communities from the pulpit. Like, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's talk about everything. It's not just about hell and heaven. There are so many other things that create a life on this planet that matters, that needs to be addressed and to be put in place, and to really be a support system and do what it was intended to do. Like, if we're a congregation and we help each other, like, are we having financial classes? Because if the Black church is embedded into the Black community, and that's where we can reach them, and start there. Wherever we are, meet if the football field, little league football field is where we got all of the parents gathering because everybody want their child to be the next great hope. Start there. We got to meet them where they are.
I'd like to apologize in advance for how I'm about to respond to this question. People who know me and talk to me on a one-to-one personal basis know I'm a fatalistic person. I don't think we can, bro. I think I think if we got to a point where it started looking like we were going to solve it, white supremacy would find another way to they throw something else in there, bro. They'd say women with their real eyebrows ain't shit, and then they would start some big old real eyebrows. It don't matter what it is. They will destroy it. They are the greatest. That, like, people love to say the Illuminati and black people. Man, we ain't had enough power in time to be able to be a part of an Illuminati. If there is one, it's a bunch of old white people that set a bunch of laws up a long time ago, and everyone else is just letting it keep going. Like redlining, I'm pretty sure there's people who are like, "Oh, I didn't realize we were keeping black people in the projects by how we were giving out loans. I was just signing off and doing my job," because that's what human beings do. Human beings just pass the buck. Someone else will do something good. Someone else will do something right. I'm just trying to get my check and get my daughter fed at night, and that's what's going to happen. It'll never be fixed. Just like humankind won't be fixed. Trump's going to win the next election and burn all this shit down, and I'll be fine with it. Fuck humans.
Where can we, God, where can we find you, Mia?
I am at anewway.com, ANNEWWAY, anewway.com. You know, I always tell people, like, just book an appointment, have a conversation, start somewhere, because nobody's coming to save us. You know, sometimes it's an inside job. So, you know, maybe if you take care of and start within your household, then we put out people in this earth that to do good because we did our part in our household. So start with you. Yeah, go to anewway.com and it says start your journey. Start there.
Michael, what about you?
I'm not fly like Mia is. I'm just Michael Francis on Facebook. It's a nice, pretty picture that my cousin just drew of a tattoo I've always wanted of a half angel, half demon. On Instagram, I'm The League, THALEAGUE, a nickname somebody gave me because they were making fun of me and it ended up turning into a term of endearment. I'm on TikTok doing foolishness. You could just Michael Francis, you'll find me.
Listen, I want to thank you guys so much because most people don't know the behind the scenes that it takes to put a show like this together. We have our own secret group, the three of us, where we just banter back and forth ideas. And this show was supposed to happen about a month ago, but everything happens in this perfect time. And as I'm looking at my clock, just blinked me down. And I know that I had another show planned for the 50th show of Straight Talk with Trevor, but I think that this was a perfect way to do my 50th episode. I thank you guys for continuously listening to my show. I thank all my guests that have come on. I especially thank these two because they keep me on my toes and they always keep me thinking about the next show. Wait until you hear that Man Talk Monday with me and Michael. It's going to be insane because he won't be as toned down as he was tonight. I guess he's just trying to be cool because there's a lady on the line. But
I'm not. She brings it out of me, bro. She does it.
But I really appreciate you guys coming on, man. We've known each other for forever. I've known Michael since elementary school, and I've known Mia since middle school. And it's, you know, you always rekindle and meet back up with people for different reasons. And I always say that this show, I want the show to be the voice of the voiceless, where we have conversations that other people will not have, because it's easy to turn on a podcast right now and they're talking about bullshit. They're talking about the latest car. They're talking about who's having sex with who's doing this. But nobody is trying to attack the root of the problem to get the black people, get the black community back on one accord. And I do agree with Michael. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But then I also agree with Mia. I believe that the church plays a major role in the demise of the black community. And we can have that conversation. Anybody wants to have that with me. So, again,
Yo, she had a nerve when she said that too, boy.
Yeah. So I thank my guests again for coming on, man. This was tremendous. Episode 50. And remember, after episode 5, I wanted to call it quits and I didn't want to do this anymore. But here we are, 50 episodes in, over 10,000 listens. I mean, this is crazy. I love it. This is my passion, and we're going to continue.
I have to know, Trevor. Trevor. Did you start it when we had that conversation a long time ago and you stopped? And like, I always wonder, like, what made you pick it up and go full throttle as you have? And look at me trying to flip it. Interview you.
Okay, so because
I mean, it's
I'll tell you what happened. It's funny because you were arguing with somebody on a post, and I was like, man, I was thinking about having a podcast. That would have been a good conversation. And you sent me a link, the Anchor link, and the next day my wife sent me that same Anchor link. She had already set everything up without me even knowing, just based on the conversation. That we had. So that's how that started. So after I listened to your show, because I would listen to it in the mornings, and I'm like, damn, I really think I could do this. And so, yeah. And I told my wife, I was like, listen, man, my friend does it, and listen to how that goes. She does a quick, 30-minute show, and it just took off from there. But after maybe show 5, I was like, man, this is crazy, because to listen, because you always think your friends are going to support you and everything, which they don't. Which now I'm understanding is fine, whatever. And I got depressed, and I took about 6 months off, and then somebody was telling me, I would listen to Kev on stage, and he said that in order to be good at podcasting, you have to do at least 100 episodes, and it was something about that just lit a fire under my ass, and I went and upgraded all my equipment, and it just took off from there. So
just tell the truth, man. You talked to me and it ignited you, bro. That's all right.
Yeah, no. She actually, everybody plays a pivotal role. She's the one who, it was an argument that I saw her having with someone else that even made me be like, damn, boy, I really think I could do this.
Yeah, no, I can remember Trevor from middle school. Like, I can remember just, Trevor was always an extreme conversationalist, right? Like, always talking, like whether and whoever you were talking to, it was like you knew everybody at Parkway. Like, you just knew everybody, and everybody knew Trevor. And
I didn't know that punk.
Like, I couldn't imagine. I mean, no, I think that this is, your podcast has. You keep thanking your guests. I think it's important for your guests to thank you, because too, I think we all want something to be done, and it is very hard to carry the mantle and say that I'm going to do it. So on your 50th episode, we want to say thank you for carrying this mantle, taking it up and letting it be your charge. And we look forward to another 1,000 episodes.
If you can't get enough of Straight Talk with Trevor, be sure to like our Facebook page. You'll get page-only exclusives like links to early shows and behind-the-scenes video footage. You can also participate in polls that might shape future shows. The best thing about our Facebook page is that's where you can get in direct contact with Trevor. You can also leave show topics, reviews, or even request to be a guest on the show. Again, like us on Facebook, and thank you for your continued support.